Hey everyone, welcome to Impact Reviews. As you can see from the screen, we're going to be reviewing today the Luminox RECON Nav SPC 8832.MI. I picked this up, let's see, I'm looking at my receipt right now. I picked this up 2016, May, I think it's in May of 2016. May 24th it arrived, 2016. And so now it's January 2019, so a couple of years into using it. And I know they're still selling it, and so I thought, it might be worth doing a bit of review because I know when I just do a little bit of searching, there aren't a lot of in-depth reviews on this, and so just kind of thought that you all might appreciate that. First, let me start off with purpose. Why did I buy this watch? What do I use it for? This was a daily watch for me. And on any given day, I'm doing anything from sort of office style work, so sort of light duty type stuff, all the way to hiking and hunting and shooting and working out and sort of the whole range, including swimming. And I wanted something, first of all, that I could use for all those activities without having to kind of switch back and forth, and that would also look reasonably, nice in a professional setting. It doesn't totally excel at that, but in any case, it fits about 90% of the things that I would want to do. But the other thing is that I don't usually wear stainless steel watches just because they tend to irritate my skin a little bit, and so I tend to need to wear titanium watches, or like this one, they call it a resin, the back side of it. Just this stuff doesn't irritate my skin the way that the stainless steel often does. And maybe some of you have a similar issue, and you found certain kinds of stainless steel that are somehow manufactured in a way that's doesn't cause that kind of irritation. I'd love to know about that. I have never found one. But this casing is what they call PC carbon case, or elsewhere on in their materials they call it a resin kind of thing. And so it worked for me, and kind of, like I said, fulfilled all those purposes so that I could take it to my swimming workout. I could take it to on a hunting trip. I could take it to the office. So I've used it for just about 2 years, and have had it in quite a few settings. I wore this at Navy basic training, and sometimes they let you wear watches, sometimes they don't. It's sort of RDC specific. Your recruit division commander can tell you whether or not you're allowed to wear it. They let me wear mine, and so I was able to wear that. And then I wore it in sort of all the kind of physical training leading up to that, all the swimming exercises you have to do to get prepped for your swim tests, and the running and push-ups, sit-up, blah blah blah, and all that stuff. Had it on multiple hunting trips and all that. And so I feel like at this point, 2 years in, I can give it a pretty fair assessment, especially on matters like durability and kind of functionality over the long term. And so let me show you the criteria that I'll be using today to judge this. So first of all, so this nickel allergy thing, this was obviously an important issue for me. That's probably not an important thing for most people. It was pretty good. I did notice that, and I'm not sure exactly what this is. It could have been just the little turn piece right here, or maybe even these little screws. Those did occasionally irritate my skin. At least I think that's what was going on. Perhaps it's just sweat, not really sure. So I would say it's pretty good. It did a pretty good job of that. Certainly better than most other like non-titanium watches have. Usually titanium's just absolutely the best for me. And at the time, I think G-Shock had a titanium version. It was a little bit more than I wanted to spend. I think it was in the $500 range. I picked this up, I think, for $225. Again, back in 2016 though, so it may have, at least the MSRP, it's MSRP to $495. I don't think I've ever seen it, going for that much on the real market, as it were, like an Amazon, where you can purchase it pretty readily. But so these are the criteria I was using. Obviously, that the nickel allergy thing is sort of specific to me. I'd say I give it a good. Second thing, I was really interested in durability, right? I wanted to be able to use this for a long time in rough to difficult conditions, obviously underwater, be able to swim with it and all that kind of thing. And I'd say, you notice I actually gave it a mediocre score. Let me explain. First, I would say there are two weak links to this watch. Let me go back to the actual image itself, and here are the details. Just I should have gone over this earlier, but this gives all just the details here. You can look. I don't need to read all that to you. You can look it up on your own. But you'll notice that as a factory watch, it comes with this little compass deal, which actually was a really cool feature to me. It wasn't make or break, but I thought, you know what, that's actually pretty cool, because I'm often out doing sort of land navigation issues where I'm having to locate, especially in my current job, where I do some photography that allows me to go, or that requires me to go out to vacant land areas, vacant areas where there aren't like addresses or anything like that. All you really have are GPS coordinates. And so I like having just the redundancy of having an extra compass around. The compass feels cheap, to be perfectly honest. It's the weakest link on this whole kind of system. I think the feature is awesome. It is plastic. The one they gave you, it's plastic, and it often got stuck. You know how cheap compasses, they kind of get stuck in one position? This one was prone to that, and so I just eventually took it off because it became almost unusable because of the cheapness of the compass. And then I thought, well, maybe I'll just buy another one, and they wanted a ridiculous amount of money for it through the Luminox supplier. I think it's like over $40 just for the compass, which is ridiculous for its quality, in my opinion. I thought it was way overpriced for the quality or lack of quality of the item. So anyway, so that's one kind of knock against the durability. The second knock against durability, you don't have to look at this to see, was the strap. So this is the second strap that I've had on here. The first one wore out in about 6 months. I think maybe it was 7 months. I sent Luminox an email to their customer service and said, hey, look, this thing broke in 7 months. And actually, basically the way that it broke was that the area where you kind of put this little attachment piece in, run it through there. Oops, I'm doing it totally backwards. Anyways, you all know what I'm talking about. The place where the two sides of the strap connected, it started to crack right in here. It started to crack there to the point where it almost just completely snapped off. Now, let me just say this. I love this idea of having these rubbery bands, because one of the things I hate about like a cloth or a leather band is that if you go, swim in it, it's wet and your wrist feels weird. Whereas, the rubber one, yeah, you're going to feel wet, but your wrist will feel wet, but you can just wipe it off really quickly. Water doesn't do any damage to it. Plus, and I'll get to this in just a minute, they have like a little ruler on the, a little inches and centimeter ruler on the band, which is awesome. The reason I liked it, I'll talk about this more in a little bit, but I really enjoyed that when I was out shooting, in particular shooting for groups or something, and I just needed to measure, okay, how large is the group, or, we even used it in one situation to measure the horns on a bighorn sheep that on a hunt I was part of. So anyways, the strap, durability-wise, alongside the compass, these are the two weakest links, and the strap broke in like 7 months. Emailed Luminox. I said, hey, look, can you guys replace this? They never respond. I send them a separate email, and it just asked, hey, where can I buy these? Where can I get these straps? Not even mentioning that they were broken. I think I had asked if some of their straps were cross-compatible, because I was going to just see if I could find like a generic version of the straps, because the straps were like $50 or $60 again, or over $40. It was a little bit again, to my mind, I thought they were a little bit expensive. And so anyways, at that point they did respond when I had asked about cross compatibility, but they didn't replace them at all. They just I just ended up having to buy them on my own, which I thought was not professional, or I didn't think it reflected well on their name. But in any case, the straps, yeah, they broke pretty quickly. This is the second pair, and so I bought this pair from one of their suppliers. They have kind of a separate operation that runs where you can get kind of replacement parts. That's the word I'm looking for. So I got those. These have held up pretty well. No cracks at all, actually. So maybe and I'm willing to grant this, maybe the original pair was somehow defective. I'm not really sure because, like I said, they broke really, really quickly, about 7 months of usage. But these I've had for about the same amount of time, if I remember correctly, and they don't show that same sign of wear. So that's pretty cool. So I'm happy about that. Not happy that that I had to go out and buy a separate pair 7 months after they were, 7 months after buying the watch, but it functions now really well. So durability, I think 2 knocks against it. Now, just sort of the timepiece itself, the bevel, the hands, the dial here, the casing, all of that has held together extremely well. I have no complaints, and I've been pretty rough on it. The scratch resistance is really, really good. I actually don't think there are no scratches, no noticeable scratches on the face of the watch, which is pretty good because, again, I've had it in some rougher scenarios, falling down and stuff like that. And all of the hands continue to work. I do want to mention this other thing about durability. The second hand is supposed to be illuminated, as you can see. Oh, let's see if I just hover over it. No. If I just hover over it right here, so you can see that this is supposed to be illuminated. And sorry about the knocking. There we go. This is supposed to be illuminated. So here's first hand, second hand. The second hand's illumination has basically gone dim, and it's no longer equivalently illuminated to the first hand. They're supposed to be the same color and also green. Something's happened with that second one, and it's gone almost completely dark. So it's difficult to tell where the second hand is in a total, like a dark situation. But in any case, but the other ones do seem to work well. I do love that you can have separate kind of time zones running at the same time. And there was a time when that was really important for me, when I was multiple times actually when I've had it overseas, where I've needed to just kind of have a quick reference, like, okay, what time is it, back at home where wife and daughter are, what time is it where I am right now, and so I could use that second time zone hand to just have a quick reference there. So I do really like that. That's a neat feature. But so everything else, kind of like everything on the center part of the watch, the sort of the body of the watch and the face, this is all held together extremely well. And so that's sort of what, from my perspective, offsets the, I guess, the lack of durability in the strap and the lack of durability in the compass. But still, I can't give it, exceptional marks, because it really isn't. Like, the whole system is not exceptional. It's a mediocre system when it comes to long-term durability. But also internal functions, great. I think I changed the battery after, I just changed it maybe 2 months ago. So the battery lasted, about 2 years. Not bad, not bad at all. Let's talk about functionality. There are a lot of really interesting features that I think deserve, warrant a 3, which in my scale is a good. I've already talked about most of them. But there are a few. Let me see. I talked about the compass. Very cool. Didn't last long. I like the idea. I think they could probably make it a little more low profile. It would be nice if they could make it a little more low profile. It does kind of come up pretty high. But even more importantly than that, they just need to make it, durable and not feel like it's a plastic toy that you just got out of a gumball machine. The ruler, I have found so many great uses for this. I already mentioned a few. If you need to measure a shooting target, if you need to measure sort of in a hunting situation, if you need to measure antlers or horn length, all kinds of reasons why a ruler is really, really beneficial. And to have it in both centimeters and inches, again, very, very useful. I mean, is it going to be absolutely perfect? No, but the measurements do seem to work out really well. And I mentioned already the third or the secondary time zone hand. That's the one with the, let's see, it's orange. It's illuminated orange there, but it's this red one right here. And so that's very good, extremely useful. The in terms of kind of the way that the numbers are all laid out, they're very visible. There is a 24-hour inside of the main circle of numbers. You do have a 24-hour clock, which is very cool, like that. On the bevel, you have they do. I'm sorry, right in here. They do have a what they call a kind of tachometer. I think that's what it is. It's a way of measuring, if you know sort of a constant rate at which you're walking, you can kind of measure distance in a very rough kind of way. This isn't precise because, of course, if you were going over different types of terrain, you'd be going at different miles per hour, but you can at least kind of roughly estimate your, use it to roughly estimate your distance and time. So that's kind of useful. I never really made any use of that at all, but you know, it's cool. I guess it fits into the recon, you know, the recon part of the recon element of the watch. So tons. I feel like when I look at the face of the watch, and I have for the last couple of years, and when I interact with its different functions, including the compass, as cheap as it was. Let's see if they have a better picture of it. Okay, right, that's illuminated. Okay, I guess they don't. Even the compass, very cool idea, cool functionality. It just didn't last. And I think that's basically it. Yeah, I talked about the ruler. So I feel like in terms of functionality, they do pack a lot into it. You just have to be kind of willing. You know, with that functionality comes some durability issues, and so it is what it is. Finally, I already talked about the illumination, but it's worth saying this is Luminox, right? So light and illumination are part of their branding, and they're sort of known for having, or at least they, claim to have this great lighting features. It did not work out that way for me, at least for the second hand. That's why I give it a mediocre setting, because I expect a watch from this kind of, from a manufacturer of this repute to have, at least for the illumination to last more than a couple years, and to be able to endure some hard use, so that is what it is. Let me see if there's anything else I want to mention. You can find their manual where they describe a little bit about the watches. No, I don't think there's any need for us to go through that. You all can read through that yourselves. They do have a number of different watches in this series, in the 8830 series. I just got the one that's sort of geared toward navigation, land navigation issues again. I didn't really use those features a lot, minus the compass thing, right? I did legitimately make use of it as long as it actually worked. So let me just give a little summary. Value scale, I say 10 out of 16. It's certainly isn't a home run for Luminox, but I think, if you sort of know what you're getting into, know that you could potentially have some durability issues with the strap, that the compass is really not going to be that useful because it just feels a little bit cheap, and it doesn't work all that well, right? Because the dial doesn't move. At least for me, that was my experience. Maybe others have different experience, but they pack a lot into it. I think if you're willing to sort of deal with those other issues or run the risk of having those other issues, then maybe it would be a good purchase for you. And especially like if you're somebody who has those kind of skin issues, but you want sort of an action-oriented or sort of activity-oriented watch, then great. I think go for it. It saves you. You won't have to pay the $500 or whatever it is for like a titanium G-Shock, which maybe that's coming up next for me. I'm not really sure. We'll have to see how things go. How things continue to go with this Luminox, but unless they can sort of address some of the issues that I had with this one, I don't think I'll be buying a Luminox again. Plus, I was not impressed with their customer service. Like, I think I remember I told you I reached out to them, told them about their problems. With the watch, they did not respond, and then ultimately had to buy the straps, buy the extra straps on my own. I don't want to have to keep buying watch straps every year and a half or 2 years just because these can't hold up. I'm not convinced that the other pieces of functionality actually warrant spending the 50 or 60 bucks, whatever it will be every year. Plus they're often out of stock. It seems like they have difficulties keeping things in stock. So yeah, but I think, you know, if you can live with some of those other things, I think there are some really, really good features about this watch. Like I said, the body itself has held up over time really, really well. The hands, minus the illumination of the minute hand, has held up really well. The dials all work very well. It seems to keep time properly, you know, those kinds of things. Battery life is pretty good. And just otherwise a lot of good features. So hopefully that's helpful to some of you who might be interested in this timepiece, and hopefully that gives you some information. If you have kind of product specific questions about it, or if you think I could have missed something in the review, I'm absolutely happy to, you know, hear that feedback. Or if you have, like I said, specific questions about this timepiece and want me to answer those, feel free. Oh, I should say these all the metal, kind of the metal connection points are really good. Those have remained very strong. I haven't had any issues. I mean, of course, there's going to be a little bit of wear on them, but nothing to the point of breaking. So, all right, everyone, enjoy the review. Have a great day. Thanks.